Hey, I want to show you the best map I've ever done, which I haven't even completed yet, but it's already the best map I've ever done. However, first I want to compare world maps that others have made with mine so you can see how much more time I have put into mine. There are people who could do better than me, especially modders, people good at computers. They can do so much better than me, but they don't because they don't take the time to do it, which is why, based on what I've seen, I haven't seen anyone who has surpassed my maps in terms of input, in terms of how much effort they put into it, and it shows. So let's compare the maps. Let's start with worldmap.scx. Now, most people they make the mistake of creating the Panama Canal. Now, there was no Panama Canal in the Middle Ages, people. So it's absolute cringe to have this. It doesn't matter if it's useful for your game. It's disgusting because there was no Middle Ages. It's like having guns for the Aztecs or wings for the samurais. They didn't have that. So this color means ships can go right through, and that's nonsense. So from far away, the minimap looks realistic, but if you look at the thing up close, it's disgusting. Look at Florida. A ship goes this way. It doesn't even have to go around one bit. It just keeps going, and there's nothing stopping it. So there's no land here. This is worthless. This doesn't mean anything. So Cuba also, ships can go right through. It's like it doesn't exist. These are phantom islands. So let me just go through everything real fast so you can compare. Look at the Falkland Islands. So here is Antarctica. At least they put this arm of Antarctica, or tail, sort of where it's supposed to be, facing South America. That's a good sign that they paid attention to a map once. But wow. So here are the contours. And they didn't bother to put elevations, they didn't bother to put animals or different terrain types, except for Antarctica. Let's see if they have Manhattan. So Florida here, so-called Florida. The Great Lakes here, and this would be Cape Cod or something. What is this? Quebec. And then, yeah, you don't have Manhattan. You don't even have the island. What is New York without Manhattan? And they have space for it, so look at Greenland. Well, it's green, so they got that going for them. Iceland, no ice. Of course, maybe it's the summer, but still, in a mountainous, oh yeah, you don't have space for that. You can exaggerate the size of a land to make it viable, because being realistic from far away isn't good enough. This is supposed to be played on, not just looked at. And so if you don't have space for a town center in Britain, it's a worthless island, isn't it? Who's going to take their time to cross over here with a ship, after preparing the ship and putting the villager in, then taking the villager out, and then creating a tower, when they can just create towers over here? That would be superfluous and a waste of time and resources, so there's no point in even having these islands if you're not going to make them viable, especially when they're so important as the British Isles. Now the British like to say that they have a small island, but that's a lie. They're trying to exaggerate the size of their empire. Oh, or the glory of their empire. Oh, we're such a small, tiny, microscopic island and we conquered the ocean. They didn't monopolize one ocean. And so, yet they were the biggest island in Europe. What's a bigger island than Britain? It's in the top 10 biggest in the world. But you know how they are. The racist pirates gotta lie to look better than they actually are. So Spain is over here. Now Italy is disgusting here. Greece is stuck. Greece doesn't even exist here. So let's look at Africa. This is supposed to be Madagascar. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. How's Germany? Germany is just blank nothingness. Scandinavia is a claw. Let me see the island of Russia. Where's the big island? This is supposed to be the croissant-shaped island, right? Worthless. Let's see, India. This is supposed to be Sri Lanka. It's in the wrong place and it's too small. It's worthless. There are no Maldives here. The Himalayas don't exist. They didn't even bother with that. This strait isn't even a strait because it's so broad. And Java is worthless. You can't do anything in Java. What's the point then? The Malays, ooh. Philippines is one of the wow, this is the worst Philippines I've ever seen in my life. And China doesn't even have Taiwan, unless this is supposed to be Taiwan. If you look at Japan, you'll see it is worthless. And Korea doesn't look like Korea, it looks like a triangle. So that's that. Let's look at another one. The world map. I'll try to be faster because I have a 15-minute time limit. So let's look at the British Isles. These are much better. You can actually put a town center, which is good, so well done whoever did this. Although it's very distorted, and they could do much better to make it look more realistic. This is way too thin, for example, and this is supposed to be way more round. And there should be consistency in the terrain types. And where's the Isle of Man? It's up here. That if this is supposed to be the Isle of Man, it's in the wrong place. It's supposed to be over here. For Iberia, they put the desert in the wrong place, and the shipwrecks are extremely unrealistic. So there's a cactus in northwestern Africa, which is nonsense because there were no cactuses in the Middle Ages in this place. I think if there were cactuses, they would have been over here because of migratory birds is one theory. Another theory is the Spanish and the Portuguese spread cactuses into places like southern Africa. So here you have Lake Victoria. At least they put the detail of Lake Victoria. So this is nice, even though it looks like a child did it. and here you have the Nile, which is sad and looks hideous. One time I shared my map of Eurasia, my giant realistic map of Eurasia, where the Nile is about the same size as the Red Sea, which is not my fault. With the limitations of this map size, I assume this one is gigantic size. You cannot put everything in and make it as realistic as possible, because you will have distortions. You will always be able to have a trebuchet destroy Sicily from Cyrenaica, for example. So I shared that map with him for free. I gave him one of my months of work for free, and he just complained about this because he was a jerk. Like, he could do better. So Ethiopia, you can't build anything here except a mining camp and a tower. But at least they did terrain, so this one is better than the other one. Let's see how they did India. Sri Lanka doesn't look like Sri Lanka. And once again, there are no Maldives. Do they even know they exist? The Persian Gulf or Arab Gulf, whatever you call it. At least they put some details here. And this slightly looks like how it's supposed to. So that's good. Oh look, it's in the smack dab in the middle of the desert is a random it's a random towel or carpet. I think they get their geography from Aladdin from Disney. Arabian Nights. And then there's a shipwreck in the armpit of Europe. Why? So you don't shipwreck here, you shipwreck only at the very end, and in the wrong way. Yeah, so Japan, let's see Japan. Japan is, well, Kyushu is stuck to Honshu and Shikoku, which is bad. However, it has the general shape of Japan at the very least. Well done. And look, they put bamboo. They have enough knowledge to know that bamboo exists in Asia, in the Far East. One of the problems with these people is they don't put the rivers. Why? Because they want land to have domination over the sea. They don't want ships to rule the world, even though ships do rule the world. And they put an elevation for Mongolia. That's good. Alright, let's see the next one. I think it was this one, right? This is the next one. So from far away it looks bad, which means up close it's going to be even worse. there's no space for a town center. However, this is just a perfectly straight line. This is supposed to be round. And let's see Central America and then Japan, and then I have to move on. So do you have the Panama Canal? No, good job. However, you have Panama north of Venezuela, which is insane. Like, you've never seen this part of the world before. Oh, Yucatan is an abomination. And look at the Caribbean islands, they don't exist. At least Florida is better, although its location is extremely wrong. So let's see, Japan. Look, they actually separated Kyushu from Honshu. Well done. However, Shikoku does not look like Shikoku. Hokkaido looks way too incomplete. Alright, here's the next one now. The last one of the ones to compare to mine. Let's see this one. This is the most realistic one from far away. As you can see, they used the NASA image, satellite image, and they copied it into the game by a program with a computer, which I cannot do because I am not an expert at computers. So it looks good from far away, but up close it's shit. Look at this. I mean, it's not entirely shit. I would have played on this if it had terrain and elevations, but they didn't bother to do that. They were too lazy. So they bothered to put the destruction of the forest, but they didn't put the forest. Why can't you just put the forest instead of the destruction? The destroyed forest. Oh no, it's the Panama Canal. Cringe. Let's see the Holy Land. Suez Canal, it didn't exist back then. And you can walk, oh no, you can walk from northern Italy to Turkey. You can just walk everywhere, and there's no river in your way, like the Po River. There's no Po River. There's no need for a boat. You don't need a boat to get to Istanbul from Rome going southwards. You don't need a boat. And how is Japan? Well, it looks like Japan from far away, but it's useless in the game. You can build only a tower, but what's the point? So now that you've seen the best that other people have done, now here is my where is it? Here's my world map, giant sized. However, it's not the best map I've done, and I'm doing one 4 times bigger and way more realistic. But first, look at this one. Let's look at 3 places. No, 4 places: the British Islands, Central America, Japan, and the Holy Land. So here's the Holy Land, which you don't need me to tell you is the Holy Land. You can tell because I bothered to put this thing in. If they did this, they would have done so much better. So this is going to be destroyed because it's satanic, and the British Isles. So I put space for a town center. I made it look more like it's supposed to be. See, I implied White Island is over here. Details matter. They make the difference. The Isle of Man is here. Ireland is viable. You can actually start in Ireland as the Celts. So this map has more worth for the Celts than the other ones. If you look at Central America, where I was born, it is distorted. However, this is because if not, then North America would go further west and not be as much included. So San Francisco would not be in the map if I made Central America as it's supposed to be, which is further west. But look, details like the mountains and the lake make it way more realistic and better. Tenochtitlan with the 3 bridges, way more realistic. Now let's look at Japan. Japan, you can start in Japan as the Japanese, although there's barely any space. And yeah, there were no cows of this variety in that time, but I wanted to represent cows, so I used those cows, but they don't belong there. I would edit this map, but I don't have time right now. So this doesn't look very much like Kyushu. However, it's still a better Japan than the other ones because you can actually use it and there are more resources. And I actually bothered to include Taiwan. Now then, let me show you the best map I have ever done in part 2 because there's no time. So if you want to see the best one, go over there.